Good morning, I'm Ashley, the engineer at Andover Norton, and one of the questions we get asked weekly is isolastic mountings. A lot of people want to convert their old mounting, i.e. the one prior to the Mark III Commando, to a Vernier type. Now the rear mounting is straightforward. You just buy the effective kit that you would buy for the Mark III and fit it to the rear on a pre-Mark III. The front is a little bit more different. The kit is 06.7337, comes as a small kit you can hold in your hand. Now the thing to determine before you buy the kit is which system you have, because if you've got an original mount it will look like this one, and if you imagine you're sat on the bike, this side, which will be on your right hand side of the bike, is longer than this side. This is a pre-Mark III front engine mount. The Mark III engine mount is a little bit different. As you can see on this one, the amount of tube protruding from the plate this side is the same as it is on this side. Back in the 80s and 90s, what people used to do was cut off the long section here by about 1/4 of an inch to make it look like the Mark III type here, and then buy the Mark III parts and fit to their pre-Mark III bike. This kit, you do not need to do any cutting. If your mount looks like this, with the longer side on one end than the other, then this kit will fit this mount. One of the other problems we get is people will say, right, I fitted it all and it is vibrating like mad. The manual tells you how to fit the parts. Ideally you should be using the Mark III manual when you set the verniers up. The first things to get right is to fit the adjusting collar of the mounting on the correct side. On the front mounting, the one with all the holes around it goes on the right hand side. On the rear mounting, the part with all the holes on goes on the left hand side of the bike. If you get it around the wrong way, the parts will still fit, but when you go to look at your finished restoration, you'll notice your rear wheel, it won't be in line with the rear loop. And then it's tears time, because you have to dismantle it all, take it all out and put it all back in the correct way. As I've got the parts laid out on the bench, is effectively how the kit would go together. This being the front mount, it would sit effectively like this. In the kit, you get the Allen key for the tiny little grub screw, and you also get this tool. I'm not a fan of this tool. All this tool helps you to do is get this in effectively on the rear mounting, where you might be a bit constrained if you've got nothing else to get in there or can't get your fingers in there to adjust the collar. People say I've tightened it up and backed it off 1.5 holes. When they mean 1.5 holes, they mean these holes here. So it's 1 position and a half, not 1.5 turns. The other thing is, the book and the manual will tell you when you do this up, you do it up until there is no clearance. Some people get that wrong and think that means tight. So they now use this tool and they get this right tight where they don't need to. All they need to do is just to turn it until there's no clearance, then turn it back 1.5 holes. A 1.5 holes should give you about the 6 to 10 thou that you need for the Isolastic to be set properly. Some people might like it set a little bit more loose, some might like it a little bit tighter. It's a case of finding out where you prefer to have it for the riding that you're going to be doing. These parts go together, so effectively when this goes through the mount, you have the PTFE washer, and this part will then go up on this piece like so, and then this would spin on like that. So effectively when it says no clearance, it's just a case of taking that up till there's no clearance and 1.5 hole positions back, and that's how you do it. To get this rubber mount into this piece, there is a trick to doing it. You can do it with your hands, you don't need no special tool or anything else. All you need is the red rubber grease. When you put some grease in here and some grease on here, and you think you've got enough on there, add as much again, because trust me, it takes a lot of grease to get that to go. Once you get it started, you can push it in with your hands quite easily, but you've got to put plenty of grease on there to do it. Realistically, you should get about 20 to 30,000 miles before you need to adjust out the play and the wear on these. You'll most probably get about one adjustment out of these, and then after they need adjusting again, it's time to get them out and replace the PTFE washers. They do wear, and they are replaceable, and they are a pain to replace with the Vernier kit. The reason we stock all the parts for the old style mountings is because some people prefer to use their original mounting, because they can get the actual shims in and out and shim the clearance they need a lot easier than dismantling a whole mount, especially the rear one, because you've either got to pivot the bike on the front mount or take the engine and cradle out of the bike. So it's generally a major overhaul when you do that job. That concludes the Isolastic video. If anyone's got any questions, they can feel free to ring me at Andover Norton, send us an email, or maybe even ask us when we get to the INOA next June. Thank you very much.